great that you all made the transition. You had that in place already. So it would sound like it was an added kind of value for the business to be able to communicate and help people from overseas, or if clients were traveling. What were the kind of the reasons for having telehealth in the first place already established?
Being in the city, everyone's flying in and out, whether Queensland, Melbourne, Perth, Singapore, whatever country you want to name. Like, it was going to be hard to see clients if they needed a session straight off the bat. So then we implemented that probably about a year ago, and now it's just become a thing. And now it's even more of a thing, or a main priority right now, given this pandemic.
Yeah, I was going to say it's fortunate, but considering the circumstances, I wouldn't say it's fortunate, but it's great that you had that preparation already you had the systems in place. So that's a great advantage for telehealth, not only now, but for the future, to reach out to more people. That's great. Dan, what apart from being able to work from home, and I know you have a great setup there, home gym there. What are some of the advantages? What's some of the most enjoyable features of telehealth?
Number one would be staying in your pajamas all day. No, I don't know. It's quite refreshing. I mean, similar to Jeff, he's saying that he really enjoys like interacting with people in a clinic setting. Like, I love doing that as well. Like, that gets me through the day a lot. Like, interaction with people. I guess what's enjoyable. It's hard for me to answer that right now, Daniel. I'm still sort of adjusting to it. I do like the idea of the flexibility side of things. So you mentioned my infamous home gym. So today, I was able to wake up and have a nice sit down breakfast, and then do some work on the computer, email some people, have a chat to people on the phone, and then take a bit of a lunch break, and then go to the home gym, which was 2 meters away from the living room, which is pretty comfortable. And then come back to the computer after that, and do some more work. So I guess the flexibility side of things is quite nice. It'd be great if there was more like social interactions like what we're doing now. I think that would make the day a lot more fulfilling for myself. I guess it's just reaching out to people a bit more and seeing if they're available to have chats similar to this one.
That's great. And just quickly, for those of us who aren't fortunate enough to have a trap bar gym set up supreme in their home 2 meters away, what would you say, some advice for those that have, say, no equipment at home, and that's a barrier?
Just some things I touched on before, like you can grab a backpack. I've seen a few of your videos, Daniel, where you just throw things in a backpack and people can squat with it or do some bicep curls. I tell people to grab like the reusable shopping bags, not the plastic ones, but like the fabric ones. They're pretty sturdy, so you can sort of throw stuff in there, and you can do trap bar-esque exercises with them. Yeah, anything I guess is weighted, and you can always manipulate other variables for exercise. It doesn't always have to be the weight. It could be the tempo, it could be the repetitions, it could be the eccentric phase, focus, whatever it may be. There's definitely other ways where you can implement an exercise to have a benefit.
Awesome. Love the creativity there. So Jeff, I know you are the running EP. You probably, if you were working with a runner, rehabbing, what would you kind of do in terms of strengthening, and if someone has minimal equipment as a runner?
That's just to piggyback off what yourself and what Dan has mentioned. It really, like, the question was, it sounded like, oh, what can you do if you have like minimal equipment, or if you have nothing, right? And that to me is a perceived barrier. It really comes down to our creativity. And the people that we see, they might think that they have nothing to work with. Like, do you have a backpack? Do you have textbooks? Can you modify the way you train in terms of intensity, tempo? There's a lot of things you can do. It really comes down to them or us communicating that to them clearly in their language. And so there's a lot of things you can do with, say, runners, for example. You can do unilateral exercises. Like you can do a lot of isometric exercise. There's a lot you could do to maintain your strength, and you can still go running at the moment. Like keep your distance. You're running away. You can run away from people as well if you want. So it really comes down to your creativity. And so I really wanted to just reinforce that this is a huge, huge opportunity to really show how powerful communication really is in connecting, and as a huge aspect of rehabilitation and treatment. So like how can we use motivational interviewing? How can we use aspects in acceptance and commitment therapy, or even just simply providing reassurance? For I don't know if you know, I am very passionate in helping people living with chronic pain. So if we can just listen to their story, provide reassurance and validation, you don't need to be hands-on. You don't need equipment for that. That in itself is so powerful. And so this is a great opportunity to practice that, make mistakes, and reflect, and ultimately see the results for yourself. And of course, it's not going to be perfect at the start. It just takes practice.
Awesome words of wisdom, and it's great to know that the communication aspect is now even more important. That we aren't there in person. We don't have that presence. We rely on the words that we use, and looking at body language cues, and awesome use of motivational interviewing as well. So I wanted to ask as a final question for the physios in this chat, because I feel like there could be some kind of, you know, dichotomy between the EPs and physios in terms of moving on to telehealth due to the hands-on nature of physical therapy, the option for physical therapy. So I'll ask Emmanuel then, and then Nate. Emmanuel, how would you advise someone, say that is primarily manual therapy based, or they enjoy and they use a lot of the hands-on work? Now they're suddenly hands off, they're left in the dark, they don't know what to do. What's some of the words of wisdom for them to help them out on this transition?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. Look, I think what we were talking about before, reaching out to people that feel more comfortable with this type of therapy restrictions, I guess, and making sure you've got a mentor, or you've got somebody you can bounce ideas off, or taking the time, because we've got plenty of it at the moment, to do a motivational interviewing course or something along those lines, in order to try and really focus and hone in on the subjective aspect of things. Most of the time, if you're doing a thorough objective, the objective measures are mostly there to confirm all the information that you're already gathering. It's more, you know, twist pop mechanism of injury. If you don't already have an idea of what's going on through the subjective, and you're relying on the objective measures to kind of figure out what's going on, my biggest thing would be to take a step back. And it's what I tell my students whenever they come in. It's like there's this need that you have to go in and you have to put your hands on somebody in order to fix them. And I found that it's more of an anxiety component that a lot of physios have, based on the cultural and societal expectations of what we actually do. And I always tell them, it's like, take a breath, take a step back, check all the information you have, and if need be, clarify, go through things again, dive deeper in order to find out what it is that you're missing, that you feel like you need to do an objective assessment in order to figure it out. Most of the time, like what Jeff was saying, is that if oh, now my brain's just farted. I can't actually remember what I was going to say anymore.
I think all of our brains are a bit kind of, you know, we have got sleepless nights, all the worries and stresses. You family, I imagine.
I tell you what, crap.
If you do remember what you're going to say, please jump in on the final comments. I'll move over to Nate. So for physical therapists, people who have been practicing manual therapy hands-on, they're now only able to do hands-off. What's some pieces of wisdom for them?
If they are, or you are, if they're currently listening, super hands-on, just like this situation, it's evolving. Just evolve the way you work. So if you're super hands-on, obviously you can't do that as much anymore, especially if you're with telehealth. So just maybe learn from yourself, Dan, or even with Jeff. Just learn all that motivational interviewing. Learn how to communicate, achieve like a functional goal rather than an objective goal, whether it be like what makes it sore. So if squatting makes it sore, that's going to be a point of reference to see if that's changing, good or bad. Hip range matters a little bit, but as long as they're doing their daily goals or whatever they want to achieve, i.e. squat, that's the main thing. Don't be so honed in on the smaller details. Just as what Emmanuel alluded to, sort of take a step back or zoom out a little bit, look at the bigger picture.
Awesome. Never a better time than now to do that. Like you said, the special test objective measure is what they want, what meaningful movement that they want to be able to do better. So we're keeping with the functional outcomes. So Emmanuel, did that spark of genius come back?
No, not really.
All good. So I've got, for the last final comments, we've got just a couple of minutes to keep this short and sweet. I'll get it over to Dan. Final comments for those looking to transition.
Just do it sooner rather than later. You can just keep waiting and waiting. And as was alluded to before, like waiting for the government to say like, yep, no more allied health. But the sooner you get there, the easier it is and the more reach you could have to help more people. So yeah, definitely reach out to anybody here or anybody else that's using telehealth services, and they'd be more than happy to help you along the way.
Awesome. So if anyone has any final comments, Jeff, go for it.
We all have a choice in this, and it sounds very easier said than done. If you're even on the fence and you feel guilty and you're not sure what to do, have the conversation with your employer, have the conversation with your team, and address how you're feeling. You'll be surprised what sort of conversation you're going to have, how supportive you are, and the options that you really have. In this situation, a lot of people can feel very powerless, feel like a lot has been taken away from them, and so very quickly. And just keep in mind, the one thing that we do have is a choice in situation, and this requires you to be quite vulnerable and courageous. The reason why I'm on here is I wouldn't like anyone to go to work guilty and have this sense of shame or anything that's making them feel bad. And have the conversation. You have a choice.
Best final words. So I think everything has been said so far. So thank you, gentlemen, for your time. And anyone listening, please reach out. Please start the conversation. With these crucial conversations, we'll make change. And comment below. We'll keep up the conversations. This is a crucial week for us and for healthcare in general. Thank you.